Hey there, welcome to Bishop's Garage. I'm Bishop. My yard is my garage. My tennis court over there is my garage. Thanks for coming back for another episode here. Today we're going to be continuing some work on our Thunderbird, our 1964 T-Bird. We are going to be working on this. This is an alternator, and this is the last piece that we need to replace on our T-Bird project as we're recovering from some electrical damage that was accidentally done to the car. So I will talk a little bit about what an alternator is, or a generator, show you how this goes in this 64 Bird, and hopefully we'll get something better than no charge out of this. All right, let's go ahead and inspect what we're going to be doing on the inside of our engine compartment. Let me show you around a little bit. So this is our 64 Thunderbird. Not the original color. The original color was a coral Samoan, and it'll get back to that at some point. So our alternator is going to sit over here, down below. The wiring will bring that energy over here to our brand new voltage regulator. And then that will decide how much voltage goes into the car and back to the battery. And if you watch some of our previous videos, you'll see me replace a few of these pieces as we go through the electrics on this old car. So let's take a look at the alternator now, where it sits. All right, so our alternator is down here. You can see the dual pulley that's sitting on it now. The alternator, squeeze my ogre mitts down in here. It's got an upper mount, that's here, and it's got a lower mount on the underside, of course. That means I'm gonna have to jack the car up to get to that. Let's take a look at the backside. Ah, that's a much better picture, all right. So, you can see the alternator has got a really long mount, which is that piece right there, which over here you can see is there. And then the opposite side has a short one, and that's usually the side that gets adjusted, which means you snug this side down and then put your rubber band back on your alternator, and then give it some foot-pounds of ogre strength, and then tighten it up with this one. So that means that's going to have to be tightened on the underside, and that would figure that I'm going to be on my back for most of this. And thank you for accelerating. Let's talk a little bit about your charging system. On most of your older cars, let's say late 80s, most of them had a very complex charging system with an alternator, a voltage regulator attached to that, and then that would govern the way electricity goes through your battery and through the rest of your car, protecting it from overcharging or getting too much voltage. Well, a lot of modern cars use a single wire. It does the same sort of thing, except there's just one wire coming out of the back of the alternator. Let me show you what the back of the alternator looks like for your 1964 T-Bird. All right, so here's your alternator. It should spin freely, not make any noise. This is an AC Delco, works just fine. The back of this may look complex, but let me just explain a few things. It's not all that hard. Really what you need to do is to just put the wires back in the order that you took them off. take lots of pictures and you should be fine. Let me set it this way, since this is, I think the operating angle for the TBird is going to be something like this on my car. So that's what the back will look like. But let's look at what these are. This BTA, that'll go to your battery. Or this will go to your battery. This is the stator. This is for your field. This is for ground. I'll talk a little bit about these just for a second. So what you have here is a copper winding on the inside surrounded by a magnet. That magnet's called the stator. And when that copper winding spins against those magnets, it creates energy. So that electricity in the form of AC in the case of our alternator is sent into the rectifier on the inside here, which turns it into 12 volts DC, or it's right around 14 volts DC. And then that comes back out for battery and ground, and also over to your voltage regulator. Your voltage regulator just makes sure that your spinning alternator does not zap fry all the electronics in your vehicle, and that would be a bad thing. It's a little cold out here. I'm going to go ahead and grab a coat. Let's go ahead and get this started. I'll show you what sort of charging voltage we have right now with this vehicle.
2 weeks later.
Well, I can't show you what our voltage is because actually the battery is dead. Go figure. Quite a surprise. Suffice to say it is 12 or less. And if you've got your car running and you put your voltmeter, like I have here, if you end up putting your voltmeter onto your battery and you're seeing under 13 volts, then you've got a charging problem. Well, certainly I've already done that. You've seen that in a prior video. This thing was only running off the battery. In fact, I gave it a jump and it ran long enough with the battery connected to the other car that it seemed okay. As soon as I took the jumper cables off, it had just enough juice to run it for maybe 60 seconds longer. So we're already committed to replacing the alternator. That's the last bit in our charging system. Let's get to that. We're slipping it off the main pulley first. All right, so now it's clear. Let's see if you can't see it from there. All right, one bolt, one washer. So on the back side here, you can see the wiring, I assume. You can see where all of the wiring sits. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a scraper or a brush, really, and just kind of brush that off. Because I'm going to assume, even though I can't see it, that there's some dirt on it and what have you. All right, let's try 5/16. Yep, that looks right. at some point it shut off. Nice. All right, so you can see we have our new one in. It's just dangling. I put my spacer in over here. Got my bolt, which I'm running through now. And I'm just going to tighten that up till it's snug on this side, and then we'll go down below and snug up the bottom one. Yeah, it's an awkward position to work in. All right, still swings a little, that's good. All right, a little too snug. Back it off a little bit. All right, let's crawl underneath and finish up down there. All right, so all right, so I'm going to recommend you don't put in the top bolt yet. Yeah, that was not good for us. As you can see, we're just putting these back. All right, so we have our first issue here. This connector here, you can see it's splitting at the end. Looks like somebody's tried to repair it before. Let's replace that. The rest of these connectors look decent. Okay, let's fix this thing. All right. What I like to use are these types of shrink connectors. I'm going to use a blue one. It's a little bit bigger. It's for like 14 and 12 gauge wire. We're just going to slip that on underneath that piece that we already trimmed, and now we're just going to crimp it. Okay, it's on there good. Now we want to shrink it. Make sure it's a good seal. And never do this around gas lines. There we go. Let it cool for a second. What that does is it seals this, and it also creates like a snug fist grip on that wire too, so it's just not dangling by the crimp itself. All right, let's get that one on now. Then we'll tighten all these down. Now these they need to be tight, but not so tight. That's probably good. You don't want to turn the post here, the stud. You just want to anchor these down so they make good contact. Just like all electrics. That's probably good. Not fair. That's annoying. Right? What? Oh. Wow. Wow. That just broke totally off. Oh, God. All right, well, so much for good metal. I didn't even tighten that down really hard. Okay, so this is our ground, this nut and bolt that just busted. So what I'm going to do, because really this is just the ground for the unit, so it doesn't matter if it touches other things. So we're going to back this lower nut off, see if we can't at least put this on here and get a few threads worth. Yep. Wow. Alright, so we're going to be pretty ginger with tightening this up now. Alright, so now our upper bolt is snug. Let's go down below and snug up the lower one after we put on our fan belt. Well, hopefully we're catching this, because I'm suffering through it. Oh, Jiminy, why is all the rain going right in my mouth and eyes? Okay, why won't it just stay in the... All right. I think we got 9/16. Yep. All right. Let's snug up our lower one. We're going to use our handy dandy baton here. That'll give us some pressure against there to tighten it. Man, this rain. Well, now that I'm sopping wet, we got everything bolted in, everything's snugged down. Actually, I do have to snug down the upper bolt a little bit more here. And then we're going to give it a jump and start it. Okay, we've been charging it up for about 10 minutes now. I just replaced the door switches. There we go. Okay, let's put our on DC volt measuring. Let's give this a start. All right, here comes the test. Let's take off the jumper cable, see if she still runs. Take two. All right, so now it's a good test. We're going to take off our jumper cables, let it run for a couple minutes, and let's see what voltage we're running. 13. I'm happy with that. Before, when it was running, it was exactly whatever the battery was charged to. So I'm happy with this at 13 volts. I think we can round up. Let's call that 13. Oh. Thanks for coming around for another Bishop's Garage. Wow. I am soaked. I'm in the middle of wiping down all my tools. Still get a couple of parts in here stowed away. Thanks for coming along with this. If you like what you saw, go ahead and click subscribe. Hit the little bell if you want to see when I post new content. And then give some comments below. Let me know if this helped you out. Hopefully this will encourage you to get out there, work on your own vehicles, and watch other people like me who are out here saving old iron. All right, thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.